If you're renovating a home in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, you might be wondering, do I actually need a permit or can you just start the project anyway? Today, I'm breaking down 5 simple questions that will help you understand when you need a permit, what it costs, and what mistakes to avoid. What home renovations require a permit in Lancaster? Most structural, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical work is going to require a permit. Also, things like the roof, if you're going to be building a deck or finishing the basement, all of these are going to require permits. Typically, if you're changing how the house functions, a permit is going to be required. What renovations do not require a permit? Now, typically, cosmetic improvements aren't going to require a permit. These are going to include painting, flooring, kitchen cabinets, countertops, trim work, appliances, interior doors, and changing some of the smaller fixtures. For example, you can probably replace carpet with hardwood or luxury vinyl plank. You typically won't need a permit for that. But the moment you start moving into plumbing, adding electrical circuits, or changing the structure, that's when permits come into play. And how much do these permits actually cost? Permits are actually pretty reasonable. Typical range is going to be around $50 to $150. A building permit, such as walls, demos, and decks, you might be somewhere between $100 to $500. And major renovations are obviously going to be more costly because what they do is they take the overall either price of the job that you're doing or the square footage of the project, and then they're going to charge you X amount of dollars per $1,000 of the bill. So if you've got a job that's going to be $10,000, they're going to charge you a flat fee for the first maybe $3,000 to $5,000. And then it's going to be X amount of dollars per $1,000 above that number. When should you pull the permit itself? Now, permits should be pulled prior to any work beginning. Ideally, if you're thinking about doing a project, you want to submit your application 2 to 3 weeks prior. So the process would look something like this. You would submit a permit application. You provide a basic drawing or a scope of work, depending on what you're getting done. Then the city will then approve it. You begin the work. And then once the work has been done, they kind of come and inspect it for you. Most Lancaster approvals only take a couple of days to a couple of weeks to come back, depending on the project. However, if you're going to do an addition to the back of the house, maybe you're going to be changing a garage into a bedroom, these may take much longer to push through. Now, I know all these things cost additional money, but what happens if you skip the permits? Now, this is where homeowners run into trouble. If the work is done without permits, you may face you actually spending more money because you could get fines from the township. Your insurance could also give you issues. There could be problems when selling the home. If buyers request retroactive permits, it can cause, again, more problems there. And the lender may even refuse financing if there hasn't been work properly done. Another issue you may find is if you're trying to sell the home, some buyers may not be interested if the work wasn't fully permitted. Especially if something unusual comes up on the home inspection, you may end up losing that buyer, which could cost you more money in the long run. While it may feel like it's extra money and extra paperwork, it really does protect your resale value and the investment that you're putting into the home. And another thing to think about is that depending on where you are in Lancaster County, the permit requirements may vary. So do make sure you check, Lancaster City versus Manheim or Warwick or East Lancaster Township. Manheim Township tends to be very, very strict, and you'll have to pull a permit for pretty much anything, and they tend to be very diligent on coming out to do the inspections. I had a client, she purchased a property, the work hadn't been previously permitted, so she had to end up spending about $30,000 to $50,000 getting the township inspector out, making all of the improvements and the changes that needs to be done before she could actually even move into that house. Now, if you are thinking about buying a fixer-upper property or thinking about doing some renovations yourself, then check out this video. This is going to go through how much you should expect to spend on renovations. And if you're thinking about selling, then click this video because it's going to tell you which give you the best return on your investment and how to not go overboard when doing renovations.